Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years. Start out, just gonna open up the door, and just to save the battery, you can shut off your courtesy lights, the center switch on top. And now we'll remove the door panel. You wanna remove 3 trim panels. Plastic tools will help you not scratch the surface, but I'm going to use screwdrivers very carefully. I'm going to press against the rubber, put it in behind, and pull, and this panel comes off. Now we'll remove this panel. There's a little indent underneath to put a screwdriver in, work it up there, and then this is really unnerving. You have to pull very hard. And I've got my thumb on here because usually it'll just go flying, but pull hard and firm straight out. And then that comes off. Now there's a trim panel right here. I'm gonna put a screwdriver this way. Just try and pull out so I can get a screwdriver at the top and pry this out. Pull that up and out. 7 7mm bolts holding it. 1 up here, 1 and 2 at the door pull, 1, 2 underneath in that trim panel, and then there are 2, 1 up here and 1 right here on the bottom of the panel. 7mm socket with a ratchet and extension, and I'll remove those. And now a series of clips holds the panel. I usually start up here at the top, pull firmly again straight out, then work your fingers underneath and keep pulling right around. And then you can lift the panel up. And your door latch cable, you just press in a little tab here, and it comes off. And then there are 2 leads, your window switch lead right up here. Press a little tab, disconnect, and then your lock lead, press a little tab, disconnect, and your door panel's off. We'll remove the speaker. There's 4 7mm bolts holding it as well. Disconnect the lead, press on the tab, pull off. Four fasteners hold the mirror. First you have your lead, press and remove, pull this off. There's 2 10mm nuts here and 2 10mm bolts here and here. We'll use a 10mm deep socket. And there is a clip that holds the mirror on. And everything we're doing on the driver's side, you just repeat for the passenger side. It's the same process. To remove the mirror, just support it underneath. And then I usually just give it I'm kind of pulling down with my hand a little bit. Tap it and pull it out. And we're gonna have to work in behind the dash. We're gonna mount a switch over here, and we're gonna mount a switch here. We're gonna mount the switch for the spotlights here, and the power fold over here. This panel, just grab in behind here and pull out both sides. And it comes down, and there's two 8mm bolts here, and just disconnect all the connections here. They just have tabs on them that push in and pull out. And then you do need to pull this clip off the panel. You can just press the tabs on the switch, push the switch through, reconnect it, and that'll stop the alarm. Then remove your two 8mm bolts. You can also, at this time, remove these two upper 8mm bolts because you want to remove this panel to allow you access into the back. Once you loosen the two upper ones, this pulls up and out, and then there's little tabs that hold the plastic on. Just kind of squeeze them and push them out. And this comes down. You have to remove this last clip. Both these can come out. And we're planning on putting our spotlight switch on here. So if you just grab in behind, pull firmly, this comes off. And you can disconnect the harness that's here. Has one clip on each side. Press it down with your thumbnail. You see we've removed the door panel and the speaker, just like on the driver's side, same process. Now we're gonna remove some trim here. This bottom piece of trim, just get underneath it, pull it straight up, hold down on your other trim, and it comes out. And then this kick panel trim, you actually have to kind of go in. There's actually your fuse box cover right in here. Pull it out, and then you can pull your weather strip up and off, and then pull this out. And off. Lastly, on the side, glove compartment, just pull it down or lift up, pull the dampener off, and then there's just little pins that hold it, so push in on the side of the glove box here, and then push in down here, and the glove box will come down. And we'll be running some wires in through here. Then the new mirror from 1A Auto. It installs just the same way, has a clip at the top, so you can put it in. Make sure you guide your wiring through. Line it up. All right, so we'll look through. Okay, there's top stud, bottom stud. Push the bottom through top has a clip, so you can lock that clip in place, and then the mirror will stay there on its own. Okay, so you can see on this XLT, if we try and plug it in, plugs don't match. That's because these mirrors are made to work on a vehicle that has the options. So if your vehicle has the marker, the puddle lamp, as well as a spotlight, you can plug your existing plug right in. This being a lower option vehicle, the mirror comes with a jumper harness. Plug it in, lock it, and then plug this in here. And automatically now your signals will work. So now with the mirror installed and the jumper wire, you can see I've got the key on and our signal light's working just like on the original mirror. But these mirrors have four more great features that we want to show you how to wire up: a running light, puddle light, spotlight, and power fold. And we'll show you how to wire those up. But we're going to have to run different wiring and switches through the vehicle to get the puddle lamp, marker light, and spotlights to work. So on a lower option vehicle, you'll want to disconnect these connections. With the mirrors, you get extra wiring for the trucks that have less options, so you can wire everything in. We'll go through this really quick. First, there's this handy card. It's a cutout for if you want to put in 2 spotlight switches. These are just little bullseyes to help you drill them correctly. You'd stick this on the back side and then drill. We'll show that later. And then most simple one is just 2 wires here. These are for the running light. There's actually wiring in the truck that's already active. So you just need to run these 2 wires in the door. One end connects to where we unplugged it before, and then one connects right into the body harness, and the lights will work, and we'll show you that. Then we have the spotlight wiring and the puddle light wiring. You're going to use the purple for the puddle light. The larger harness is the one that goes into the body, and then the same thing with the spotlight. Any of these things that have these large connections are for the body of the truck. We'll show you how to wire them. It comes with enough wire that you can wire the switches for 2 separate switches, one controlling each side. I prefer to wire it with one switch that just turns on both sides. What we want actually right now are the door harnesses. Again, there's one end that'll plug into the mirror and one end that'll plug into the body harness of the truck. And again, the purple is for the puddle light. These are the door harnesses. One end plugs into the mirror, one end into the harness of the truck. And then you have the whole harness system for the power fold. A little more intricate. Comes with a switch and comes with all kinds of wire ties, which you obviously use to make sure that you secure the wiring so it doesn't chafe. This is the body harness. It plugs directly into the switch, a ground. There are multiple connectors to go into the body harness of the truck, and then the red wire goes to a 12-volt power source, and it is fused. But again, for right now, what we want are these 2 sets of wires, which are designed to plug into the mirror and then into the body harness of the truck. So basically, if we separate it out like this, this is one door harness and this is the other door harness. So what we've done here, we've just taken those 2 groups of wires and we've made kind of door jumper harnesses, and you've got your power fold, your marker light, your puddle light, and your spotlight, one for each door. And we've just put a piece of tape here to keep them kind of organized. And then on the other end, you can see that there are all the connectors to go right into the body harness of the truck. Okay, so we've plugged in our jumper harness. The power fold is easy enough because the connector only goes in one way. The wires on this mirror, this is a prototype, so these colors could change, but we've got our purple our purple puddle light going into the brown with a black stripe, our white spotlight going into the red with orange stripe, and our orange for the marker light going into our brown with white stripe. We'll show you a little bit later how you can easily kind of test. These are the leads that we disconnected because our vehicle doesn't have the options. So I'm just going to use some electrical tape, tape these off to the harness so they don't cause any problems. And if your mirrors come with the breakers, just put the breaker in between the mirror harness and the harness for the power fold feature. Okay, we need to have the window in the up position, so just push your window switch from the back side. Pull it out. So reconnect your switch, just put the key in and turn it on, and you can run your window up. So now we're going to disconnect the door harness. Right in the door jamb here, a pair of wire cutters. You just want to snip this plastic wire tie. Get in there. Remove it. Pull the rubber grommet off. Okay. And then you can pull out. There's actually, this one came out pretty easy. There's a couple of just tabs on the top, and there's a couple tabs on the bottom. You may use a flat blade screwdriver. You just have to kind of find those tabs. Once you have the top released, just press on the bottom tabs. Actually, it looks like there's just a single bottom tab. And then this whole thing, and you can pull it quite a bit. And you can see here, there's the two top tabs and the one bottom tab. And then to disconnect on the back side, there's a tab here. Flip it over, tab there. Disconnect and push up from the bottom and disconnect. And then we're going to pull this whole harness right out of the door so that we can push the wires through. So down here, just push this whole grommet through the door and down. And down here, you can pull this one up and out. And some of the harness comes out. There's two harness clips in the door, one here, and you can just kind of pull, use a screwdriver to pry a little bit. Remove that one. And then harder to film, but down in here, there's another one. You just reach right down into the corner and you can feel it and pull that one firmly and it comes off. Harness through. And pull this side out at the same time. It can be a little challenging. There's actually multiple harnesses in here, so you have to kind of feel which is the one you want to pull on and the one you don't want to pull on. So here's the grommet from the other harness that was up in here coming out. Okay, and you can see there's a little wire tie there. We need to clip that to free it. This wire doesn't want to come out. And so now you've got your body harness outside the door. Clip this wire tie down in here. Obviously, we're always being careful not to clip any wiring. And you're going to have to unwrap the what looks like electrical tape from here, here, and here. Allows access into there. Access into there. So we're going to use a piece of stiff wire or a coat hanger will work, and just some mild hand soap to make it nice and slippery. Try and have this as straight as possible. And put it through. Okay, now take your wiring, get it all out again. A good amount of soap. Especially on the ends here, you don't want them to catch. Put them into your threading device. Make sure everything goes into the rubber correctly. And take some force sometimes. Once you get to this point, sometimes it helps to wipe your hands off so you can get a little better grip on stuff. And then once they come through, gently pull the ends through. And all the rest of the wire. I'm going to try and get the wire to stay up on the top for the most part. So I'm just pushing. The twists and turns this takes, though, sometimes it's a little difficult. There it is. Make sure that you take enough wire that if it pulls through, you don't lose an end. Again, good amount of soap. Get everything nice and slippery. Hook the wires in. Pull on them, give yourself a little bit of tension. Going to twist that hook so it's down, and this might take a couple tries. Sometimes what you'll find is you accidentally put the stiff wire through the wires and it doesn't want to pull them, so you just want to be careful that you don't ever pull too hard and end up ruining your harness. pull through easily that time. Now pull this top safety tab out. Just be careful not to grab any of the wiring. And you can press in on the tabs, but it should just pull straight right out. The orange wire, which you're going to have as your marker light wire, you want to plug right into this connector on the back side right here. This kind of bullnose should go down, that tab should stick up, and push it in until it clicks. And at that point, you can just, for now, we'll put our safety back in, but we'll have to take the safety back out for the next wiring. Plug in the top connector, plug in the bottom connector, and now when you turn on your lights, you'll see that your marker light works. So we just got the marker light to work, so we know we've hooked it up right, but there's a possibility that you could do this and you might have accidentally hooked the marker light to maybe your spotlight or your puddle light. You've got power to this orange wire now, so you could just touch it to either one of these connectors just to figure out which light is which, and then you can connect your connections properly. Okay, so we've disconnected the body harness again. We're going to pull the safety out. Okay, and if we look in, we've got all kinds of small connector holes. And actually we've got 4 nice open ones down here. Checking this side, we can pull this safety off. I just use my fingernails to pull the side out. And we have 4 open connectors on the opposite bottom side. We're going to use those, lift everything up here, and we're going to put in our other 4 wires. Now we're going to put these in. Now it doesn't matter what blank holes you put them in on the back side of here. You just have to make sure that there are blank holes on the back side of this harness and all these middle ones. So if I look in here, there's a set of middle harness. They're all open on both this and this side. It doesn't matter where you put each one in, you just have to make sure that you put it in the correct corresponding side when we wire the dash. And the pin side goes toward the inside. Push lightly with the pliers on the back side. And you can see the pin coming through. Pull to lock it in. So we'll go purple there. We'll go white, which is the other light beside it. And then we'll go with the 2 leads for the power mirrors. Blue on the purple side and yellow on the white side. Okay, so we've got those wired up. 4 are there. So we'll put our lock back in. And then I actually like to just pull the wiring back through so the extra is outside and we can stow it. And now I'll tape these harnesses back up. And we'll just tape these up kind of like they were before. sure the wiring just kind of follows the path. So let's now stuff this back up in. Put the grommet through. Make sure it comes up and pulls through where it should. We're just doing this all now so we make sure that we give the wiring as much room as it needs. So on this grommet, lock the top in first, and then it's got this handy pull down here. Let's just make sure we get the top out first, and then you just pull that and lock that into place. Now just reach in here, make sure that the wiring is running right along with the rest of the wiring. And then what I like to do is just pull it out, and you can see here's the clip that you push into the door. I'm just going to put a wire tie right around where that clip is, and then I'm going to pull my wires to the back side. Make sure I get all of them. So they're on the back side of that wiring clip. And then put a wire tie on there. Nice and tight. And then reach down in and find where that clip goes in and reinstall it. Okay, and then just pull the wire along the rest of the way. Pulling the wire down to make sure it's running with the rest of the harness, and then putting another wire tie just to hold it to the harness so there's no chance of it getting bound up in any of the window mechanism or anything. And just pull it up and carefully clip the wire tie off. Okay, we can re-clip this one and re-tape the wiring here. Lock this grommet in place. There was a plastic wire tie here holding the wiring. Put that in. Push it back through to put it in place. Bring this up. Seal up the grommet here with some tape. Keep pulling the wiring right up. Okay, we'll gather everything right up here. Some of the extra. It's always better to have a little extra than not enough. And just secure it. Okay, this door is wired, and now we'll do the exact same process for the passenger door. All right, so now we're going to wire up the body and try to make this easy to see. This is for your puddle light. Where we're going to hook it in is we're going to find the lead in the harness on the passenger side. So this is where we're going to hook into the power source from the truck. And then this is going to be the passenger side connection at the door. And then you can see this longer, and this is fairly short. See how much more is bunched up here. This is a longer lead that goes all the way over to the driver's side. So we're gonna string these from the driver's side to the passenger side. Same with our spotlight lead. We're gonna string one from the driver's side to the passenger side. And then here you can imagine this is your power fold switch is gonna hook up on the driver's side so you can control it. And you can see a long lead with the wires for the body connector to the passenger side. and the shorter lead to the driver's side. So we're gonna string these from the driver's side to the passenger side. So basically we're going with these two, this one, and these two are gonna string from the driver's side to the passenger side. So I've taken all 4 of the harness connections that are gonna go into the door, put a little piece of tape together. This connection is gonna go down into the door sill. So just to get it over there, I'm just gonna use a wire tie, connect it together just to keep everything together. And as you look through, you can see there's plenty of room to run wires through. So we'll run them through and then wire tie them to make sure they don't chafe. All right, so I'm pulling my hanger through, and ours is a little bit short, but it'll work. Pull the hanger through, put the wires in, and now we'll pull them the rest of the way through. And we can undo this tie. You'll have to kind of reach your hand in, but you're gonna feed the wires. Hanger again. Put it through, and I find it on this side. Here's the hook. Hook just the 4 wires on that have the connectors. You want to leave this one out. And then pull those wires through. Now we want to make sure we put everything in. So we've got purple left top, white right top, light blue left top, yellow right top. So looking at it, you want to be opposite here. First we have to pull this safety clip off, which is just ears on the outside that you just pry out a little bit. Actually, we'll start with our blue wire, and this tab here should be towards the outside of the connector. So the blue one down here goes in the middle slot. Push it in until it clicks. Then the purple one on the top slot right above it. Push it in until it clicks. So we've got purple and blue above it. So then we want to do yellow and white above that. So the yellow one, again, there's a little tab on top that faces the inside. The bulk of the connector comes down and it drops off. That faces the outside. This one goes next to the blue, down in until it clicks. And then the white on top next to the purple, down in until it clicks. Okay, if you should put one in incorrectly, you can see in here, and this is one that doesn't have a wire, but you would pull up on these locks. So on this wire, pull on that lock, and sometimes 2 hands is better than 1, and then pull the wire out from the back side. Okay, you should be able to look in and see that all the locks are engaged, and then put your lock on and in place. Go ahead and put a plastic wire tie right around and just move it back a little bit so it holds those wires right to the harness. Now we connect our harness and the lower harness. So now before we put this together, put your rubber boot back on and kind of push it on there more than it feels like it should be. Best to get the bottom well on first. Stretch the top up and over. And then, not the most ideal thing, but I've just got 2 smaller wire ties. And they should sit right in this channel at the top and bottom. Clip this. And then this pushes in. And locks into place. Now we're going to take this unfinished lead and put it, just kind of look down in there and let it come right down through here. We're going to clip these 2 ties, pull your harness up out a little bit, very, very carefully and lightly. Cut hard enough to get through the tape, but not hard enough to get through any of the wires. Open up your harness. We're looking for a plain purple wire. You gotta look very carefully. This one's purple, pink stripe, don't want that. There's another purple with a stripe here, red stripe, don't want that. But you'll find 2 purple wires, and if you have a micrometer or something, you can tell that one is actually a slightly smaller gauge. You want the larger gauge or the little bit thicker wire, which is this one here. I'm going to take the plain purple wire, put it in, and insert this into the side that stops. There's like a little block in there. Pinch it, drive that down through. And now we should be able to turn on our courtesy lights. So now we can see, locking it, our blinkers flash, unlock, the lights come on, and our puddle light comes on. Lock it, puddle light shuts off, blinks. Use some wire ties, put everything back together, secure it. Pull this weather strip back off. We install our kick panel trim. And fuse box doors just have to go in. And we'll pull our glove box door back down. And we're going to secure all these wires up and out of the way right across. Now we can put the glove box back up. Push in each side. And reconnect that damper. Okay, so same thing on the driver's side. I've fished the coat hanger through. Take my harness, put it in. So you're just gonna have to push your hand in there as far as you can, then pull it through. And again, we're pulling 4 wires through, the yellow and blue for our power fold, purple for the puddle light, and a white for the spotlight. Use your fingernails or a small screwdriver, pry out the sides, pull that lock off. This is a little more difficult because there's more wires, but make sure you put all the wires into the corresponding positions from this. So we're looking at, we have purple on the left, white on the right, blue below it on the left, and the yellow below it on the right. I'm going to very carefully cut back some of the tape and wire loom just so I can spread the wires out and get in there easier. once we've created some room, just stick our finger in there so we can see where we're going. Right. We can put the lock back on, pull that insulation back down. I'll just put a little bit of electrical tape to wrap things up. Back in there as far as I can. Put a wire tie around it first. And push it back. Tighten it up. And clip it. Reconnect. And you may want to wait to do this till you make sure everything's working correctly. Pull the boot up and on. Okay, so up to personal preference. You can choose to put an individual switch for each spotlight. Actually, this is the grill from this vehicle. I'm just going to put one in that controls both spotlights. And to drill it out, just pull on the AC grill and pull out on these tabs at the same time. And then this comes with a template that you can use to put both on, or if you just want to put one on, which is what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically center it and go a little bit on the low side, but pretty much right in the middle. Drill a pilot hole, and then ideally you want to have a wood bit that's the exact diameter of that. All right, so make sure the middle of it's right on the crosshairs. Once you're through that, take the guide off, and this 1/2 inch bit. I'm lacking the wood bit. We're going to use this to round it out. And switch in and put the nut on the back side of it. Get the nut tight on the back side. Switch on there. And then we just put the grill right back in place. Okay, our Dremel tool is the best for this, but we're using this bit on a drill. We want power for the power turn. Now we need to get 12 volt power for the power fold and the spotlight. And this harness is actually hooked into this dummy panel right here. And what you normally would have is if your vehicle had power folding mirrors, there's a module here. Okay, but you want to find this green connector, disconnect it, pull it out, and this top right purple with red wire is a 12 volt continuous source, so it's even on when the vehicle is off. You want to be able to fold your power mirrors even after you turn the truck off. So I'm just trying to peel back the fabric covering a little bit to make it easier to connect into that wire. So we're going to take our red power wire that goes to the fuse and then to the power fold switch, and we're going to put the connector on this purple and red wire. And again, the nice thing about these connectors is if you decide to take it off, all it does is just to make a little mark in the insulation. Put that on there, put our red wire in from the back side, and then squeeze the splice together. Okay, and close that off. And now we can 8mm wrench, and here's a factory ground. So just loosen up this bolt, ground connector, and slide right underneath, and then tighten it back up. Now we can hook up the switch. Fold in and out. Now we'll hook up the spotlight. Bring my wire that comes from the passenger side right up through here, and then the wire that comes from the driver's side I'm going to route right up through here as well, and I'll pull that all the way through. And where'd my passenger side wire go? Okay. And I'm actually I'm just going to put one switch in for both spotlights. So I'm going to cut the passenger or the driver's side wire there. I'm going to connect the two wires going to the mirrors together. So I'll put this connector on here. As the one that's going through. Then put this connector in here, and then squeeze those together. And so now I'm going to use this piece of wire as a power source. So I'll feed it up through here. And out, so I have a little extra. And then I'm going to run that wire down with the other one, basically to where this wire is, and then along with that wire to the other side of the fuse. I can cut it. And now I'll wire it in here. So now it's taking 12 volt power after that 5 amp fuse. The LEDs draw very little, so both of these, both the spotlight and the power fold, should be able to run off of one 5 amp fuse. but you usually don't want to have the spotlights on when you're folding the mirrors anyways. And what we found when we tested it, we actually have the switch in just upside down. This is the on, that's off. I want to just change it around, so I'm just going to loosen up the nut and reorient the switch. Okay, now you can hook your switch in. This can kind of be trial and error. Usually if you orient the switch so these two are, there's one in the middle and one down, plug them in, plug this back into its dummy slot, and then just test and on and off. Okay, so now we're just going to take some plastic wire ties and secure these wires so they don't get chafed or caught anywhere. What I'm actually going to do is take my fuse and run it right over here to the other side of my, this is the plug for your engine sensor. Just gonna run it right over here and hang it down a little bit and tie it there so it's easy to access. Okay, and then I'm just gonna basically take these wires, the rest of these wires, just bring them together. Not as neat as I'd like to see it. Actually, we'll bring this through here. We can connect this green plug back into its dummy hole, clean up our wire ties. And now we can put the panels back on. We can put this back on, snap it in place here, make sure all our harnesses are coming up through. Put our panel on bottom first, 2 tabs go in, then into place, and start the top bolts in. And the bottom bolts. And then tighten those up. All right, with those in, plug in our power fold switch, and hit it, and it works. And plug in our pedal switch. This one goes down to the dummy connector, and we can disconnect our light switch, install it, reconnect it, put this back on, and this connects back over into here. And then this comes up, and you just look the clips into the various slots. We're ready to put the speaker back in. The 4 that look like this are for the speaker. The ones that have these coarse threads to them, those are for the door panel. 2 tabs, 2 holes. This clips in at the top. And then the holes line up. And it goes on, and put the 4 7mm bolts back in. Tighten out firm, but not too tight. You don't want to strip them, and reconnect the lead. Switch panel back in place. Bring the door panel up. Reconnect the power window switch. Reconnect your door lock lead. Then your door handle cable. Top goes in first. It snaps into place. And then bring the door panel up. Make sure the lock goes into place. Push the top in and down. Just make sure your wiring doesn't get too caught up. Okay, you can see there's a slot back in there, and then your clips start to line up. There's a large lineup pin up here. Everything lines up. Set the clips back in place. Reinstall the 7mm bolts. One up here. The ones with the large washers go on the door pull. The smaller washers go down underneath. And the coarse black bolts go on the bottom. And they go up at a pretty good angle into the door. You can put this trim panel back on. Just make sure the wires tuck in. This panel back goes in first. And this panel bottom goes down in first. And you're all set. And then repeat that for the other side. Marker light, spotlight, signal. There's the power fold feature. Key comes out. And the puddle light comes on. All right, get out of the vehicle, lock it, puddle light goes off, marker lights go off, unlock it, marker lights come on, puddle light comes on. And of course, you can manually extend them for towing. And then make sure it's working. While the top ones are power, you do have to adjust the bottom ones by hand for your best angle.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at 1AAuto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.